Welcome back to Business Stories with Mass and Mike. Today we have the pleasure of having Lauren on. And first of all, so audience can get to know you, why don't you tell us a bit about your story? What made you decide to help people with their finances?
Yeah, great question. Hi everybody. My name's Lauren Malone, and I'm a money mindset coach and mentor. And yeah, I help people fall back in love with money. And my journey has been up and down, just like loads of small business owners. So I started my business and I didn't really know what I was going to do. I just felt really passionate about coaching and really passionate about helping people. And that evolved into working with small business owners. And then that evolved through listening to their problems, evolved into helping them specifically with their money mindset. And I've studied NLP, hypnosis. So I'm very interested in how we speak to ourselves, so the mindset. But I've also studied psychology and neuroscience. I get very excited about understanding why this stuff works. So I don't work with my clients and say, do you know what? Just go and think differently and then you'll make loads of money. I really want to understand how our thoughts impact our behaviors and how we can then use the strategies and everything else that we need in business in order to drive us forward and make loads of money.
I love it. Everybody loves loads of money, don't you, Mike?
People love what they can do with the money.
Yeah,
That's true. That's
It's
absolutely.
true.
a,
That's true.
a
It's
big
happiness,
Yeah.
don't you?
mindset thing that folks need to move over that hurdle. If you had a pile of money, that doesn't mean anything until you do something with it.
Exactly. And that's something I really help my clients understand because we do live in a society that does have lots of limiting beliefs around money. You know, people say money isn't the root of happiness or money is the root of all evil. You know, these kind of phrases get banded around. So people go, "Oh, I don't want to be rich because that would make me an evil person." Like, no, not how it works. There are bad people who do lots of bad things with or because of money, but it's the person, not the money. And what Mike said there was absolutely right. It's what we do with our money. It's the experiences we choose to have with it. It's the impact we choose to have on the world. And personally, I'm all about having a positive impact on the world and supporting small business owners to continue to have their positive impact on the world. And it's like a ripple effect out.
I'm so glad you said that. It's something that's very close to our business and our hearts and our motivations. Trying to get other business owners and founders to understand the difference between giving something away and giving something in a way that helps.
Mm.
That's
Yeah,
always such a tricky bit. Have you seen some of your clients making that mistake of just giving away without thinking about what effects that's having?
yeah, hugely. And what I try and explain to people is when you are selling something, it's an investment for somebody, and that exchange of money is an exchange of energy. And so, actually, it's incredibly important that we have that exchange when running a business. Obviously, running businesses, if you're not exchanging money, you're not running a business. That's
Right.
not how
You're
it
out
works.
of business. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But people who try to give away and they're trying to give loads and loads of value, or they're trying to they keep their prices really low because they want to be affordable. Well, actually, they're damaging the impact that they could have because people aren't as invested. And we do get emotionally invested when we hand over our money.
For sure. And you talked about pricing. When
Mm,
it comes to like pricing a product, oh, this question always comes up. Like, how much should I charge? What is your
yeah.
answer to that question?
Well, my answer is what I think really doesn't matter because I might not be your ideal client. My certain situation, my financial situation might be not that of your ideal client. And I actually don't know your financial situation. So, what really matters is what the price feels good to you. So, I help people because people do come to me and say, "What should I charge?" I say, "Don't ask me, ask yourself." And then work with the answer that you get because you go out onto the internet and you say I'm going to charge X for this, whatever it is, product, service, whatever, and you will have people who tell you it's too expensive, you will have people who tell you it's too cheap, and everywhere in between. What matters is how you feel about it.
So,
And does
Keep
that
going,
tie
Mike.
in with the concept of neuroplasticity? As you're trying to get your brain to start thinking about pricing of your offering,
Mm.
people will have ideas in their head already. We
Yeah,
all do.
exactly. And that's really
So how do
important.
you get them to? How do you teach people how to filter out the garbage and get to the gold?
I love that. Filter out the garbage, get to the goal.
True.
So when it comes, so neuroplasticity is the idea that we can rewire our brain, that we have learned certain beliefs and certain things normally in childhood, but not just in childhood. But with practice, we can reprogram the brains to believe something different. And when we believe something different, we will act differently because of it. And we see this all the time. So even when you're not trying to do this, this will happen because you set a price and someone buys it at that price, and then people keep buying it and you feel really, really good. But over time you start going, oh, maybe I should charge a bit more, and that's because your brain has changed. So it has suddenly decided that what you maybe thought felt quite expensive and quite challenging suddenly has become easy because you've gathered all that evidence to support a new belief, and then you raise your prices, and then you go through this sort of process again, and your brain is just sort of taking on new things. But the idea of like, it's subjective, isn't it? This idea of expensive or cheap. So we're always changing our feelings on that. And like I said, it really depends on what your situation is and what's happening to you in your life at that time, and what your dreams are, what your goals are, for how much you might choose to charge something. But yeah, being aware of how your brain is processing this information and being really careful not to take other people's like crap, like their limiting money stories, and putting them on for yourself. We've got to be really careful of that. But reprogramming our old beliefs around money, the old, it doesn't grow on trees, or it's the root of all evil, or money is hard to come by, or I've given my blood, sweat, and tears. We hear all of these kind of stories all the time. But we can reprogram that to money comes to me easily, or I embrace abundance, or I just make loads of money and I'm a money magnet. We can do all of that and we can make it happen.
Yeah, like
And
how
I love about.
I
Go
love,
ahead, Moss.
yeah, I love like speaking to yourself is definitely very important. But I think I'm not the only person that's been a victim of thinking speaking to yourself is great, but it's
Mm.
not everything. If that's just
Yeah.
what you do, you ain't gonna get nowhere. I definitely
Yeah.
did back when I was younger because I felt the power of it, so I knew
Mhm.
like it could change things, but it's not gonna change your whole world. You need to go out there and actually take action.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so when you started off, what were some of the ways you went out and got clients? So you're actually able to fill up
Mm.
your schedule to charge those higher prices.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the first things I did, and when I started my business, I was working with people face to face. I actually thought at the time, this is a limiting belief, I actually thought that was the only way I could deliver my services. Pandemic came along and obviously proved us all wrong on that, and we all adapted. And I certainly did, and moved everything online. But back in those days, I was doing live workshops locally to where I live, and I was advertising them in local Facebook groups, saying I'm going to be doing a introduction to hypnosis workshop. Come along, find out more about this. And at the end of the workshop, I told people how they could work with me, and made an effort to have like one-on-one conversations with people at the end. And there was, I chose venues where people would get a drink and they'd be milling around. So I was having these conversations with people to really find out what their issue was and explain to them how I can solve their problem. And I've adapted that, and I do a similar thing now. I have lead magnets that are out to start communicating with more audiences, and I continue to try and have those sort of more one-to-one conversations to drive people into the products that will help them the most.
So a lot of your networking and meeting people had to do with you're creating the situation, physical
Yeah,
situation,
yeah,
where they can go there and see you face to face.
yeah,
So this is very different than what basically the entire internet tells us is, just post tons of content and people will
yeah,
come flying to you. And
yeah.
so I love this that you've actually you're one of the rare people that goes out and creates events.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Do you just walk into your? I mean, I know you're in Great Britain. Do you just walk into your local pub and say, "Hey, I want to have that room back there"?
That
Or
is pretty much it. Mads is laughing, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Can't
I
be
didn't do it in a pub.
too
I was pregnant
stereotypical.
at the time when I started my business, so I was like, maybe the pub won't be like the right look. But I did do it in a cafe, and I went into a local cafe, and I said, look, I really want to hold an event. It'll be about an hour and a half, and everyone who comes will buy a drink. So it's a win for you and it's a win for me because I get to do this and you're supporting another small business. And lots of people said yes. And I did go to other events. So I went to networking meetings that other people were holding. And that's when I spoke to you. I was like, oh, I really want to put these on. Like, does anyone know of venues that would be willing to collaborate with me? And they said yes. And here we are.
I love that. You just gotta
So I
start
hope
somewhere.
everybody listening to this is taking notes right now.
Mm,
All of you folks out there listening, you've heard me say it, you've heard Moss say it. Now you're hearing a real expert, Lauren Malone,
yeah.
saying it.
Yeah.
The social media is okay, but you got to get out there. You got to meet
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, you really have, and have these conversations with people. And I think what Mads was saying about like taking action, it's so important. And when we have the conversation around mindset, I think a lot of people think, oh, that's a bit woo. And yeah, what? So I just think of it and like £1,000,000 just turns up on my doorstep. Like, sorry, no. But
You
you
No.
need
have
to
to
do
believe.
it.
So when I was doing these events, I really believed that they would help my business. It was never a doubt that this was going to work. And I had the confidence to go and try. And some people said, no, I don't think that kind of event would work for me and my business. Like, okay, no hard feelings. That's cool. We're all just doing our best, aren't we? But I really believed in what I was talking about and that the conversations, once I was having those conversations with people, they would know how much I am able to help them and the impact that working with me would have on their lives. And I went out and did it. And yeah, like Matt said, took the action.
So all business people run into some very common objections.
Mm.
There's always the potential client that's like, the price is too high, too low,
Mhm.
whatever
Yeah.
you've already talked about.
Yeah.
How have you dealt with the people? It's happened to all of us. They look at you and go, "Yeah, what are your qualifications? Why should I listen to you?" How do you respond to that objection?
Do you know what? No one's ever really asked, to be honest, which
Oh,
I actually
wow.
find really surprising because I would ask. Like, when I'm about to start working with a coach, I do ask, what qualifications do you have? What experience do you have? But yeah, people don't tend to sort of say, well, what neuroscience courses have you done? I'm like, I've got all the
Huh.
certificates. I want to show you. I want you to know. But what I
Uh,
say to people, like if someone did, I'd be like, look, here's the information. Here's my past success. Go and reach out to my clients. I have their information. So when I share testimonials on my website, for example, I always link to the client who's saying it, and their full name, their profile picture, and their website, because then people can contact them and people can go and have that conversation with somebody who's worked with me and find out and ask those questions that they might not feel ready to ask me, because it is sometimes scary to invest in yourself and in your business.
Yeah, most definitely. Moss
another.
looks like he has a question.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't really have a question. But
Well, I do.
well, you probably have a better question than me, but I think it comes down to a lot of people have been burnt in the past
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
on investing in themselves
Yeah.
because either it can be a waste of money or it can be the best investment ever made, but there's no
Yeah.
middle ground.
It can definitely feel like that. And I love the phrase, there's no such thing as failure, there's only feedback. And it's the
Hmm.
same for you. So if you've invested something and you were really hoping to get a return on that investment within a certain amount of time, or if you embarked on it and something feels not quite right, and you feel that maybe the person who sold it to you missold it in some way, or that you don't really feel like you got everything that you really wanted out of it for whatever reason, what I really encourage people to do is before they try something else, just take some time to reflect and
Hmm.
acknowledge what went wrong, but also acknowledge what went right and what you learn from that experience, because there will be things that you learn that have benefited you in your business. And it might be, I have learned that I am absolutely going to speak to people who have been through this program, or I am going to find out what qualifications that coach has before I embark on something like that. And I've definitely been in that situation as well. I think most small businesses have invested in something and gone, oh, maybe that wasn't quite the right thing for whatever reason. But there is always learning to be taken from it.
So, what is like some of the things you do to actually deal with that skepticism? Like, how would
In
you
what
overcome it?
the skepticism, as in not wanting to invest, you mean?
Yes, like because having that's like a mindset thing, I think it comes down
Yeah,
to really.
yeah, yeah.
You learn
So
the
I
same
think,
thing in sales. It's like if you
yeah,
think certain things are gonna happen, they're gonna happen. So
yeah,
don't do
yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah, you've hit the nail right on the head there. If you believe in something, good or bad, that's the reality that you're going to end up creating. And so I always say to people, like, we get really obsessed. We talk about our ideal client, right? But then we get really obsessed with who our ideal client isn't. So therefore we go, oh, well, because my ideal client doesn't object. They don't think it's
Ah,
too
good point.
expensive.
Yeah.
They are 100% ready to come and work with me, face their money blocks, and push through those income ceilings so they can start earning more money. And they are at that point where they are ready. And if you think about your ideal client, they're in that same position. They're ready and they want this. And we might need to sort of help people understand it. But I just say to people, you will come when you are ready for this, and I'll be here waiting. And an amazing phrase that someone said to me, and I've always carried it sort of with me, be the lighthouse, not the fisherman, when it comes to marketing.
Hmm.
Allow people to come to you. You don't need to be out there going, where are my fish? Where are my fish? You can just be there, shining your light of expertise, knowing that people will come to you when the right time is for them.
I'm writing this down. That's such a. I wish I'd learned that phrase 40 years ago.
Yeah,
That's really good.
that was really good. It took me like a second to actually get it, but yeah,
Yeah,
I
I love
think
it.
it's perfect.
I've been the fisherman before. Yes,
Oh,
I
me
think that was
too. And being the lighthouse doesn't mean don't take action, like we were talking about. Like, still go out
right.
and do things, but be like I said, the shining example of what it's like to work with you. Give people the option to come to you with their questions and have that chance to talk to you about whatever their objections might be.
Yeah, I love it. So that still just ties back into what you teach about neuroplasticity as
Mm,
well, because as I'm envisioning a room full of people listening to you present,
yeah.
and during discussion time, they're talking to each other about their own objections and fears. Anyway, we know that
Yeah.
groups of people never go to the positive; they always go to what they're scared about
Yeah, we do
every
have a negativity
every
bias.
time. Um, but yeah, you're already helping them in that moment. They haven't even signed up yet, and you're already helping them
Yeah.
start thinking about what they're thinking about and how they're
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah, yeah. And that's what I love to do. It's like challenging, like, oh, hold on, is what you're thinking true? Like an absolute fact? Or could it be there's another way of thinking? Is it possible that something could happen that could make you think differently about your current situation, financial situation? You know, is it possible that you could earn that amount of money? And if we put a zero on it, is that possible? And if we put a zero on it, is that possible? And if you can answer yes, it's possible. You're starting to reprogram your brain. You might not be there yet. You might not be 100% convinced. Sorry. You might not even necessarily know how to go about making it happen, which is where people like yourselves come in to teach people strategies. But as soon as you start to go, oh, it's possible, then you can start doing the work to make it probable, and then you can just make it inevitable.
Oh, that's such a great quote.
Yeah, we
So I
have
do have a bit
two
of a
amazing
silly question.
quotes.
Got a bit of a silly question to end on. We can always um, delete this if Moss thinks it's too silly.
Oh
I love you.
no, what's now? What now? What now? What now?
Part of what you talk about on your website and your materials is using hypnosis as one of the tools.
Yeah.
No chickens, Mike.
So
No.
as I understand it, yeah, I'm going to ask the chicken question. As I understand it, hypnotism is really just getting someone's brain to relax to a deeper level, but
Yes.
they won't do something they wouldn't do otherwise.
No, they
So
won't.
these people that you see get hypnotized and walk around the stage acting like chickens,
Yeah.
this is
They do
something
it
they would
anyway.
do anyway.
Yeah,
You
they
know what
would.
my problem is? I would do that.
Yeah,
I mean, if
exactly.
you gave me enough to drink, I could see myself doing it. That's why I don't want to be hypnotized, because you could get me to do worse things than be a chicken.
No.
No
So the
chickens.
way hypnosis works is it's all about getting your brain to a more relaxed state so it is more connect we're trying to connect and communicate with your unconscious mind. And someone who's trained in this will help you get to a deeper level of relaxation, which is literally slowing your brain waves down to lower, about sort of, we're aiming for sort of 4 to 8 hertz in the sort of brain waves frequency, which is sort of just before falling asleep. And we're really talking to your unconscious mind. And we make suggestions. And your unconscious mind has the power to reject those suggestions just as much as it has the power to accept those rejections. It's just having a chance to listen. How would it feel if the next time a client says that's too expensive, you just went, okay, rather than taking it all really, really personally and
Mm,
panicking about what kind of discounts you have to do or whatever it is that might come up. And what the actual suggestion is will be specific to the person often. And with what I do, we'll often discuss that in ways and challenge some of them more general beliefs and some of them are more specific beliefs, but that's what it's all about. But yeah, people who go up on stage and dance like chickens and do all the funny stuff that we've seen, right? They are extroverted people. They are people who like to be the center of attention. And I am saying this with absolutely no judgment because I'm probably one of them myself, but they enjoy that kind of thing. They are looking forward to people laughing along with them. They don't feel like they're being laughed at because they're laughing along with it. They enjoy that. And if it went a bit further and there was something suggested that they were like, no, we can't do it. No one's gonna suggest to somebody go and rob a bank and they would just go and
mm.
do it if they wouldn't do it. And it goes against their values, which is most of us, I assume.
So
Everyone I assume listening to the podcast.
Well, no bank
you've just
robberies.
erased a defense used by lawyers and solicitors all over the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, sorry. No, they absolutely would have done.
Ah,
Oh, that's great.
I think that was a great question to end it on. I will keep it in, Mike. Thank you very much for coming on, Lauren. If
Oh, thank you
people
so much for
want
having me.
to interact with you, connect with you, or maybe be a client of yours, love the work you do, how can they get a hold of you? How can they learn more about you?
Cool. So one of my favorite platforms to interact with people is Instagram. So join me on Instagram at lauren.malone.coaching, but I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn. And my website, laurenmalone.co.uk, where you can find some different resources, find a bit more about my story, and some different downloads to help people, including one specifically on pricing.
For sure. We will have those down below as well, just to make things
Excellent.
easy.
Thank you so much.
I hate people when they don't spell it out, so we won't be one of those.